In this lesson, we're going to be looking at combining like terms. Our objectives: understand what like terms are, understand how to combine like terms. Our vocabulary basically breaks down combining like terms. A term: parts of math problems separated by a plus and minus signs. So it's basically the parts that are separated by those plus and minus signs. So they can have numbers, they can have variables, they can have a combination of each. Like, terms with the same variables. So x and x. So an x in one term and an x in another would make them like. But an x and an x squared means xx, those would be different because one has two x's and one has one. So you got to be very careful with what's like and what's not, and I'll go over that. Combine, to add or subtract. That kind of depends on the situation. If we've got a minus sign, we'd subtract. If we've got a plus sign, we'd add. So the first thing that I want to do is just help you see how we figure out what terms would be like. So basically we have a lot of terms. I'm just going to separate them using my red marker here. So our first term is this 10. Then we've got negative 4x squared. Then we hit a plus sign. So this is our second term right here. The negative is included as part of the term. Then here's our third term, the positive 3xy. Our fourth term is positive 2x. Our fifth term is positive 5yx. Our next term is negative 7x, and then we hit a plus sign, positive x squared, and positive 5 to end it. Okay, so these are all our terms. Now we need to figure out which ones are like. So I'm going to use the blue in different shapes to kind of designate this one is like this one. So we're going to start with our 10. I'm going to put a star under it. So the 10 doesn't have any variables, so it would be like with other things that don't have any variables. X squared, xy, x, yx, x squared, 5. That one doesn't have a variable. So what we could do is we could combine 10 and 5. Okay, next one, negative 4x squared. I'm going to use a triangle here. So this would be like with something that has x squared with it. xy, x, yx, x squared. This would be like. Okay, 3xy would be like with something that has an x and a y. So I'm going to use a circle here. X, yx. Well, these are in a different order, but there's still an x and a y. So this would be a like term. So sometimes they can be switched around and still be like. This one's just got an x. Last one, I'm going to put a square under this. This one needs something with just an x with it. Well, that one's x squared, that one's x squared, so it doesn't go with them. This one's got an x. That's the one it matches up with. And one thing to remember, there aren't always like terms for every term. So then those stay the way they are. And sometimes there could be more than just one like term. There could be 2, 3, 4 terms that are all like and can be added or subtracted together. So now let's actually practice the idea of combining the like terms. So I have a 5x. This would be my first term. I'm going to look for something else that would be combined with it, which here would be positive 2x. So I've got a positive 5 and a positive 2. We're just going to put them together. 5 and 2 make 7. And they're both x's, so it stays x. Then let's look. I've got a 3y here. I'm going to use a curved line in red there. There are no other y's, so this 3y just stays 3y. So plus 3y. Next, I have a negative 8 and a positive 3. So negative 8 and positive 3 combine together to make negative 5. And notice how much simpler this is compared to the top one. Now we go on to the next. Start with blue again. I have negative 7x and negative 4x. Negative 7 and negative 4 make negative 11x. Okay, this time our next one is negative 6. Are there any like terms with negative 6? There aren't, so we just bring negative 6 down. Last one here is positive y and positive 9y. Well, this one doesn't have a number. We should remember from past experience, put a 1 in front of it then. So this is positive 1 and positive 9, make positive 10y. Okay, now let's look at how we do this with fractions and decimals. Okay, with fractions, we have to first identify like terms, and then if we can add things, we're going to need common denominators. So first we have 1/2 x and 5/3 x. They're both positive, so we're just going to add them. So 1/2 plus 5/3. I don't really need the x's, I just know that it has an x at the end. So 6 is used for both. So this is really 3/6 plus 10/6, which would be 13/6 x. Then we go on to our y's. So these again don't have common denominators. I need to go 3/4 minus 1/2. Common denominator would be 4. So this one doesn't change, it stays 3. This one gets multiplied by 2. That becomes 2. 3 minus 2 is positive 1/4 y. Since it's positive, we use a plus sign. Okay, now let's go on to decimals. X's. Well, we're going to add those. So 6.5, or negative 6.5, negative 2.8. Since they both are negative, we're going to add them. We're going to get 9.3, negative 9.3x. Use your calculator if you need help with that. And positive 3/7 and negative 5/8. So we're actually going to, if we remember our rules for adding, we're going to take 5.8 minus 3.7, which is going to be negative 2.1, and there's no y there, so there's our answer. Okay, if there's any part of this that you didn't catch or you need more help with, make sure you pause, rewind, and rewatch, and bring your questions to class. Thank you.